Chapter 5. "And even if it isn't fine tomorrow," said Mrs. Ramsay, raising her eyes to glance at William Banks and Lily Briscoe as they passed, "it will be another day. And now," she said, thinking that Lily's charm was her Chinese eyes, a slant in her white, puckered little face, but it would take a clever man to see it, "and now stand up and let me measure your leg," for they might go to the lighthouse after all, and she must see if the stocking did not need to be an inch or two longer in the leg. Smiling, for it was an admirable idea that had flashed upon her this very second, William and Lily should marry, she took the heather mixture stocking with its criss-cross of steel needles at the mouth of it, and measured it against James's leg. "My dear, stand still," she said, for in his jealousy, not liking to serve as measuring-block for the lighthouse-keeper's little boy, James fidgeted purposely, and if he did that, how could she see? Was it too long? Was it too short? She asked. She looked up. What demon possessed him, her youngest, her cherished, and saw the room, saw the chairs, thought them fearfully shabby. Their entrails, as Andrew said the other day, were all over the floor. But then what was the point, she asked, of buying good chairs to let them spoil up here all through the winter, when the house, with only one old woman to see to it, positively dripped with wet? Never mind, the rent was precisely twopence halfpenny, the children loved it. It did her husband good to be 3,000, or if she must be accurate, 300 miles from his libraries and his lectures and his disciples, and there was room for visitors. Mats, camp beds, crazy ghosts of chairs and tables whose London life of service was done, they did well enough here, and a photograph or two, and books. Books, she thought, grew of themselves. She never had time to read them. Alas, even the books that had been given her and inscribed by the hand of the poet himself, for her whose wishes must be obeyed, the happier Helen of our days. Disgraceful to say, she had never read them. And Croom on the mind, and Bates on the savage customs of Polynesia. "My dear, stand still," she said. Neither one of those could one send to the lighthouse. At a certain moment, she supposed, the house would become so shabby that something must be done. If they could be taught to wipe their feet and not bring the beach in with them, that would be something. Crabs she had to allow, if Andrew really wished to dissect them, or if Jasper believed that one could make soup from seaweed, one could not prevent it, or Rose's objects, shells, reeds, stones, for they were gifted, her children, but all in quite different ways. And the result of it was, she sighed, taking in the whole room from floor to ceiling, as she held the stocking against James's leg, that things got shabbier and got shabbier summer after summer. The mat was fading, the wallpaper was flapping. You couldn't tell any more that those were roses on it. Still, if every door in a house is left perpetually open, and no lockmaker in the whole of Scotland can mend a bolt, things must spoil. What was the use of flinging a green cashmere shawl over the edge of a picture frame? In 2 weeks it would be the colour of pea soup. But it was the doors that annoyed her. Every door was left open. She listened. The drawing-room door was open. The hall door was open. It sounded as if the bedroom doors were open, and certainly the window on the landing was open, for that she had opened herself. That windows should be open and doors shut. Simple as it was, could none of them remember it? She would go into the maids' bedrooms at night and find them sealed like ovens, except for Marie's, the Swiss girl, who would rather go without a bath than without fresh air. But then, at home, she had said, "The mountains are so beautiful." She had said that last night, looking out of the window with tears in her eyes. "The mountains are so beautiful." Her father was dying there, Mrs. Ramsay knew. He was leaving them fatherless. Scolding and demonstrating, how to make a bed, how to open a window, with hands that shut and spread like a Frenchwoman's, all had folded itself quietly about her when the girl spoke, as, after a flight through the sunshine, the wings of a bird fold themselves quietly, and the blue of its plumage changes from bright steel to soft purple. She had stood there silent, for there was nothing to be said. He had cancer of the throat. At the recollection, how she had stood there, how the girl had said, "At home the mountains are so beautiful." And there was no hope whatever. She had a spasm of irritation, and speaking sharply, said to James, "Stand still, don't be tiresome," so that he knew instantly that her severity was real, and straightened his leg, and she measured it. The stocking was too short by half an inch at least, making allowance for the fact that Sawley's little boy would be less well grown than James. "It's too short," she said, "ever so much too short." Never did anybody look so sad. Bitter and black, halfway down in the darkness, in the shaft which ran from the sunlight to the depths, maybe a tear formed, a tear fell, the waters swayed this way and that, received it, and were at rest. Never did anybody look so sad. But was it nothing but looks, people said? What was there behind it, her beauty and splendour? Had he blown his brains out, they asked? Had he died the week before they were married, some other, earlier lover, of whom rumours reached one? Or was there nothing but an incomparable beauty which she lived behind, and could do nothing to disturb? For easily though she might have said, at some moment of intimacy, when stories of great passion, of love foiled, of ambition thwarted, came her way, how she too had known or felt or been through it herself, she never spoke. She was silent always. She knew then, she knew without having learnt. Her simplicity fathomed what clever people falsified. Her singleness of mind made her drop plumb like a stone, alight exact as a bird, gave her, naturally, this swoop and fall of the spirit upon truth which delighted, eased, sustained, falsely perhaps. "Nature has but little clay," said Mr. Banks once, much moved by her voice on the telephone, though she was only telling him a fact about a train, "like that of which she moulded you." He saw her at the end of the line, Greek, blue-eyed, straight-nosed. How incongruous it seemed to be telephoning to a woman like that. The Graces assembling seemed to have joined hands in meadows of asphodel to compose that face. Yes, he would catch the 10:30 at Euston. "But she's no more aware of her beauty than a child," said Mr. Banks, replacing the receiver and crossing the room to see what progress the workmen were making with a hotel which they were building at the back of his house. And he thought of Mrs. Ramsay as he looked at that stir among the unfinished walls. For always, he thought, there was something incongruous to be worked into the harmony of her face. She clapped a deerstalker's hat on her head. She ran across the garden in galoshes to snatch a child from mischief. So that, if it was her beauty merely that one thought of, one must remember the quivering thing, the living thing. They were carrying bricks up a little plank as he watched them, and work it into the picture. Or, if one thought of her simply as a woman, one must endow her with some freak of idiosyncrasy. She did not like admiration, or suppose some latent desire to doff her form of royalty, as if her beauty bored her and all that men say of beauty, and she wanted only to be like other people, insignificant. He did not know. He did not know. He must go to his work. Knitting her reddish-brown hairy stocking, with her head outlined absurdly by the gilt frame, the green shawl which she had tossed over the edge of the frame, and the authenticated masterpiece by Michelangelo, Mrs. Ramsay smoothed out what had been harsh in her manner a moment before, raised his head and kissed her little boy on the forehead. "Let us find another picture to cut out," she said. End of section 2.